Welcome to the T. Allen Haynes Radio Show. Conversations with elite business leaders from around the world. And now, here is your host, T. Allen Haynes.
Welcome back to the show. We've got a great guest for you today. We've got Meredith Bell, and she has been an entrepreneur since 1982. And she's an expert in helping companies develop the people side of their business. Meredith is co-founder and president of Performance Support Systems, a global software company based in Virginia. Their products are used by business consultants, executive coaches, and human resource training professionals to help managers become more effective leaders. One of Meredith's strengths is building strong relationships. She and her business partners have worked together for 27 years, and many of their clients and resellers have been doing business with them for more than 20 years. She understands what's required to build the loyalty and commitment that lead to repeat business and referrals. She takes pride in getting feedback like this, which is from a reseller who's worked with her company since 1994. Performance Support Systems is the epitome of the client-centered, high-integrity, high-support company with world-class products. You could look for a lifetime and not find its equal. Welcome to the show, Meredith.
Thank you so much, T. Allen. It's my pleasure to be with you today.
Yes, we're excited to have you on the show as well. So let's just get right into it. Tell us about your business and the types of people that you're helping.
Great. Yes, we help a group I would call leadership development experts, and that can be both external executive coaches and consultants, as well as internal people in organizations who are responsible for areas like learning and development or leadership development. We help those folks deliver lasting improvements in performance and a positive return on investment. And I say that because too often people participate in training or other kinds of development programs, and you've probably experienced this yourself, nothing changes. You know, when they go back on the job, no matter how excited they were, they revert back to their earlier way of doing things. And so our goal is to help really make a difference so that when they go through whatever kind of development program that it is, they get the practice, reinforcement, coaching, and follow-up that helps make that new skill a part of their regular behavior.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about how you got started in this business.
Well, that's interesting. I always wanted to be a teacher as a kid, and so I got into the public school system and then became a supervisor and realized I did not do well in a political environment or in a bureaucracy. So I left and went out on my own. And the thing that I always was fascinated with and loved was communication and how people interact with each other. And so I decided to start my own business without having had any training in business. I just figured that I would figure it out. But I was pretty passionate about helping people learn how to communicate well, because when I was in the educational system, I saw that as a really key area. And in particular, I felt that if I could help business owners and people in leadership roles become better at that, then they would have a positive impact on their employees. And, of course, we use the term employee engagement now. But that, to me, is a key piece of what I'm all about and what I try to help organizations do, to recognize how the leaders can communicate with others so they feel valued and they are fully engaged and want to perform at their highest levels.
Great. Thanks for sharing that with us. I know you cover several aspects of leadership and communication, but what are you finding to be the essential communication skills for developing strong relationships?
Well, number one, and unfortunately, a lot of people think they're good at this, but they really aren't. Number one is listening. We often think listening means taking turns, talking, and it really isn't. It's paying attention, giving the person your full attention so they truly feel that you are getting them, not just the words they're saying, but you get what they're trying to say. And the way that you respond helps them understand, if you really got them or not. So sometimes people think that listening means, okay, I got to be quiet. But it's really interactive, because if you're truly listening well, you're asking questions to clarify, follow up, and even cause the person to think more deeply about what it is they're saying. So listening, I think of as the foundation skill that's really required for the others. And some of the others include things like dialogue, where you are soliciting another person's opinion so you can understand the rationale behind their position or what they're saying, and then in turn you have the opportunity to share your opinion, not necessarily trying to convince each other about who's right, but just the spirit of engaging in a conversation that helps you understand where the other person is coming from. Other important skills include the ability to give feedback. Unfortunately, we don't have training in this in school, and a lot of people don't do it very well. They're not specific, and they're vague and general, and it's not helpful to the other person. And that includes positive as well as constructive feedback, because sometimes even with positive feedback, we label the person as being great, you're good, as opposed to specifying what it was that they did that we really appreciate. And that makes such a difference. So to me, those kinds of skills are really critical. The ability to encourage others is also a big one, where you empathize with where they are, but then you help them take a realistic perspective so that they don't stay discouraged when they've had a setback.
Let's back up a little bit. Along the way, and I understand congratulations, you've been in business for over 27 years. That's quite the accomplishment. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Along the way, was there a book that stood out that inspired you?
There are, I'm an avid reader. So it's challenging to pick just one book, but one that's very popular and it really did have an impact on me was just Think and Grow Rich. And one reason for that is the focus. To me, a lot of people focus on the, acquiring money part of it, but the prerequisite to that is being of service to others. And that has become really for me an underlying sense of my own purpose, is looking at how I can serve others and not what can I get from them. And so there have been other books since then that I've read that reinforce that, but I think Think and Grow Rich probably set the stage for that kind of attitude and approach in interacting with other people.
When I ask that question, 98% respond to that book. There's a common thread there. That's a hint, those that are listening. There's a
yes.
fiber optic that runs through that book and what we do and the experts. I felt your passion. I've read your story. Of course, you've got to be really passionate to do what you do for that many years. But what is it that makes you get up out of the bed every morning and give you the passion to do what you do?
That's such a good question. Honestly, it's that I see too many people that are in pain and struggling with how to get along with the people they work with or the people that they live with. And so I never get tired of what I do. In fact, I get excited because we see so many great results when people really incorporate the things that are in our programs, because we're a software company. I don't personally do coaching, but our products are used by a lot of coaches and consultants and internal trainers. And when leaders actually, really apply what they learn through our programs, they change. They improve their relationships. And so as I hear stories about the difference that, one person learning one new way of of interacting with others, it has a ripple effect through everybody on their team, or if it's the owner, with everybody in the company. That, to me, is exciting. And it's one reason why I never really think about retiring, because I feel like there's still too many people out there that need to know how to be more effective with others, because we don't get that kind of training in our educational system. So I'm just passionate every day about helping more people discover what they can do differently to make life better for them and those around them.
Excellent. So what do you feel is your secret to building business relationships that have lasted more than 20 years?
It goes back to that word serve, being of service. Another book that had a powerful impact on me that kind of brought this to another level was the book The Prosperous Coach by Steve Chandler and Rich Litvin. And there was one sentence in that book that just really impacted me. And in fact, I have it on a graphic now that I review regularly. And It's this sentence. It's a question, actually, that we can all adapt. And it's, how can I serve this person so powerfully that they never forget our conversation for the rest of their life?
Wow.
That's a tall order when you think about it, because what it requires is being fully present for them and not being preoccupied. When we think of, because I'm a business owner and I'm in my role as one of 3 partners in the company, I'm responsible for marketing and sales. And so what this means to me is when I have an initial conversation with someone, I'm not focused on, okay, when am I going to get an opportunity to slip in, talking about our product? When am I going to get my turn? It's really asking questions and then listening for what they're saying and not saying, and then asking more questions that sometimes might go deeper than someone else has taken the time to do, or I'm always kind of scanning the radar for resources or people that I know about that might be of help to them. It could be a book or a course or some individual. But I won't say a fire hose, but I am generous in the way that I will share with them things that I think will be helpful, in addition to asking questions and letting them do the talking, because I want them to feel that I value them as a human being. In fact, my purpose, part of my purpose statement is to help others appreciate their value and maximize it. And so if I can be present with someone and have that kind of connection with them, they remember it. It's because it's different from how most people interact. They are more superficial, or they're more, again, it's that waiting to take your turn to talk, as opposed to thinking about how can I deeply serve this person who's in front of me. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. That's a very powerful statement. Thanks for sharing that with us. That's definitely a writer-downer in this episode. So we'll put that in the show notes for sure. So I understand you have systems and solutions for folks, but could you go over that just a little bit on how that relieves the problem in the marketplace specifically?
Absolutely. We actually have 2 different products. One is what I would refer to as an assessment tool. It's a survey that can be used for individuals. It's commonly called 360-degree feedback. It can also be used for teams or an entire organization to get a pulse about how people are feeling about working there. But with 360 feedback, what that does to help people is it helps them realize what other people believe are their strengths, because it sends out a survey to a number of people that know the individual firsthand and can respond to questions like, how well does the person listen, give feedback, some of the behaviors that are important for a leader. And then the software that we have aggregates the responses and presents it in the form of a report that tells them what their strengths are, what do people want more of from you because you do this so well, but also what are some of your blind spots where maybe you're not aware of what people are wanting and needing, and here they're saying, we'd like more of this from you, or we'd like you to do less of that. So it's a real eye-opener that can be the first step to someone making a decision to do things differently. And if I can give you a quick example, there was a manager, actually the owner of a small hotel, who went through not really an individual survey like this, but more one for the whole hotel, where they surveyed all the employees, and the results really shocked him because he thought, he had a perception of himself as a leader that was totally different than the feedback that came in, because people described an environment where they felt stifled. They hated coming to work because he was too controlling, micromanaging, negative. And it was a real shock for him. And he worked with this gal that had conducted the survey for him. She was also a coach. And so she coached him through some of these issues and helped him learn what he could do differently. And what happened, she continued to coach him, but when she went into the organization and started interacting with people just 6 months later, the whole atmosphere had changed, because he had become, first of all, he acknowledged to them the things that they pointed out, and he made a public commitment to improve. That in itself is huge, because too many leaders are hesitant to do that because they're afraid people won't respect them anymore. But the opposite is the case. When you are willing to acknowledge that you've made mistakes and you want to correct them, and you're soliciting their help in doing that, people will jump in to support you because they want us to succeed. They don't want to have failure, and they don't want to have to quit a job and go find another place to work. So he made that commitment, and with the help of the coach, made dramatic changes in how he did things. He became a more effective delegator. He became a better listener, and people felt appreciated. And it made a big difference. And the side benefit is that his family experienced an improvement too, because he applied these same skills at home that he was doing at work. So the overall impact in that whole company was dramatic, because he was willing to take feedback and really make a commitment to do things differently. So that's our assessment tool. And the other one is a development tool. It's an online coaching and development system called Strong for Performance, which gives resources for people to improve. In other words, how do you become a better listener? It gives you steps for improving in a particular skill, but then it has a process for you to go through. You've probably seen this, T. Allen, where so many programs, let's take some e-learning systems, have content, and then they have knowledge-based questions, and when you answer those correctly, you are considered to have successfully completed the course. Right. But it says nothing about what you're doing back on the job. So our system is different. We want people to make a commitment through our program, share it with someone who's their accountability coach, and then go back out on the job, apply it, and come back to reflect on how it went. Because too often we go from doing something and repeating it, and we're reinforcing the wrong way because we never take the time to stop and do an action, after-action analysis. What happened and how did it go and what were the consequences and why did it happen that way? So to do that kind of analysis makes a huge difference in what someone learns, and then learns how to improve for the next time. And when they do that over and over again, the impact is they rewire their brain. They make the connections that are necessary for that new behavior to become automatic. So we cover both elements, because we have just seen too many times that companies invest in training programs that don't have any impact. So they've really not invested their money. They've spent it and wasted it.
Yes, that last statement is invested in it and wasting it. Absolutely. So yeah, that's a great feature where they have to come back and provide the after action and see how it's impacted the culture and the environment. So thanks for sharing that case study with us.
Sure.
What do you find to be? Well, let's jump to this here. What personal habits have served you best in the last 20 years as an entrepreneur? Or I'm sorry, as the last 30 years as an entrepreneur?
One of them is just having a consistent system in the morning where I get focused for the day. So I write in a journal, I take time to meditate, I read either a business book or something inspiring just to get my head straight, and then get some exercise in, and then I review what my top 3 things are for the day, so that I make sure that if I don't do anything else, I get those 3 things done. And of course, I'm not perfect at it. I wish I could say, I do that every time. But it is a habit that I do more often than not. So that helps for me to set my day correctly. And part of that, honestly, is to have a gratitude attitude, because, if I focus on the good things that are going on within my life and have a positive expectation for the day, then it makes a huge difference in how the day evolves. And even for things that happen that don't go the way I had hoped they would, I look at those as opportunities to learn. I try not to waste a lot of energy regretting, or wishing something had turned out differently, because I can't change that. All I can do is learn from it and make a different choice in the future. And then the other thing I do is I'm just an avid learner. I'm always keeping my radar up for ideas, opportunities, people that I might be able to meet. I have to balance that, though, because that desire for learning can become a problem if I run after every shiny object that comes my way. I think that's something that every business owner struggles with, is, which opportunity is going to turn out to be a good one for me. And so forcing myself to evaluate, okay, how does this fit in with the priorities I've set for this 12-week period or this quarter? And I'm lucky because I have 2 great business partners, and we have a very collaborative relationship. So when I have an idea, I will run it by them, and they can help do a reality check with me to evaluate if this really is a good, opportunity to pursue. And so having that kind of a support system is great.
That's awesome. Yeah, that morning routine.
Oh, and may I add one more thing, T. Allen? I just thought of something else. Another question I learned from Steve Chandler, who's a really amazing coach, is when something happens and it's a setback, something you had not wanted to have happen, to ask yourself, what's the gift in this? So that you turn it around to see, okay, how can I grow? How can I learn from this so that I have this opportunity, that's better going forward? So I think that that's a helpful question to, run through your mind, and it prevents you from falling into the victim mode, and at least it has me. So I jump into being an owner of my own feelings, my own attitude, so I don't lose a lot of productive time and fall into negative thought patterns.
That's a golden nugget right there. Thank you for sharing that. Perfect. If any of the listeners are interested in finding out more about how you can help them, what's the best way for them to do that?
I have a personal website, meredithbell.me. That's MEREDITHBELL.me. And that has information both for coaches and consultants as well as people who are interested in making a difference inside their own company. And I also have a free resource there that I think they might be interested in that talks about how can you make sure the training and development efforts that you put into place, whether it's for your own personal growth or if you want to do it within your own company. I think that they'll find some valuable ideas there that can make a real difference for them, and that's available free.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank you again for taking the time to be on the show. You've had a lot of great nuggets, and thank you very much.
Oh, well, it was my pleasure, T. Allen. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, you're welcome. So there you have it for this edition of the show. We'll see you the next time.
Thanks for listening to the T. Allen Haynes Radio Show with T. Allen Haynes. Conversations with elite business leaders from around the world. We will see you next time on the T. Allen Haynes Radio Show.